All right, welcome to the Explainer. We've got a massive topic to unpack today, the AI boom. Is this thing for real, or is it just a whole lot of hype?
Okay, let's just get right into it. This is the question on literally everyone's mind right now. We're seeing trillions, with a T, pouring into artificial intelligence. So what's the deal? Are we at the dawn of a brand new era? Or are we just watching history's biggest, most expensive bubble inflate? We're going to look at the money, the reality on the ground, and what this all really means for us.
Just to get your head around the sheer scale of this, look at this number, $1.5 trillion. And that's not even the total investment in AI. That's just the money committed to building the infrastructure for it, the data centers. We're talking about a figure so astronomical, it's basically launching us into a whole new dimension of business scale.
So naturally, this has led a lot of smart people to call it the AI bubble. And really, this image just nails the concept. It's this frantic, self-contained feeding frenzy, a gold rush where all the big tech giants are just investing in each other, promising massive profits, all inside what looks like a big financial echo chamber. And look, it's not just the skeptics and critics saying this. Get this, even the guy at the very epicenter of the whole boom, OpenAI's CEO Sam Altman, he's on record admitting it. He says, yeah, the current AI investment certainly has a bubble. He's acknowledging the hype himself.
One of the best analogies I've heard for this is just perfect. It's like a bunch of power strips all plugged into each other in a circle, but none of them are actually plugged into the wall. It's this perfect, self-sustaining loop of money and promises, but you have to ask, what is it actually powering out there in the real world?
All right, Section 1, the surprising bottleneck. What's holding the revolution back? So with all this money and all this brain power, you'd think the biggest hurdle would be something super complex, right? Like better algorithms or more processing power. But nope, the real bottleneck, the thing slowing this whole revolution down, is something way more ordinary and honestly kind of shocking.
Okay, take a look at this chart. It breaks down the cost of a typical AI data center. You can see the GPUs, the big computer chips, they eat up a whopping 40% of the cost. The lion's share, for sure. But then, look way down at the bottom. See that tiny little sliver? That's storage. Just 1%. And yet, that tiny 1% component has somehow become the single biggest choke point holding back AI's growth. How crazy is that?
And this disconnect shows up in the stock market in a really fascinating way. You'd think the big winners in the AI race would be all the cool, flashy software companies, right? Like a Palantir or an Oracle. But the reality? The ones who are actually winning, at least recently, are the old-school hardware companies, the ones literally making the hard drives, like Western Digital and Seagate. It's the classic gold rush story. The people who really got rich weren't the gold miners, but the folks selling the picks and shovels.
Okay, Section 2, AI on the ground. Beyond the bubble, where's the value being created? So let's step away from the trillion-dollar investments and the stock market charts for a minute. Let's get our boots on the ground and see where this technology is actually making a real difference. Because that's where things get really interesting.
So how is AI changing something as traditional as pig farming? Yep, you heard that right. Our first stop is probably the last place you'd expect to find cutting-edge tech, a pig farm. But believe me, what's going on here is a tiny revolution with huge implications.
So, check this out. The before picture was, well, it was chaos. To measure a pig's growth, it took 3 people literally chasing a pig around for 5 minutes, stressing everyone out, especially the pig, just to get a single measurement. Now, look at the after. It's a calm, automated robot they call ScanPig. It just rolls up while the pig is happily eating and gets all the measurements it needs in less than 20 seconds. No stress, no fuss.
And the results? They're just staggering. I mean, daily productivity shot up by 60%. The error rate in measurements dropped by 40%. And the animal stress? Poof, virtually gone. But here's the real game changer, the data. Before, they got one data point, a single snapshot in time. Now, they get a full growth album for each animal. They can track its entire development. That's a whole different level of insight.
Okay, so that's farming. But can this same idea, using AI to see patterns in data, help us predict and maybe even prevent natural disasters? We're going from something important for business to something that's literally life or death.
Well, here's a real-world test case from Hubei, China. On June 17th, an AI system sifted through a ton of scattered weather and water level data, and it raised a huge red flag. It predicted a major flood was on its way and recommended evacuations for specific high-risk zones. Fast forward to June 23rd. The The news reports come in, the floods hit exactly where the AI said they would. But here's the amazing part. The people were already safe. They had been evacuated days earlier, all thanks to that prediction.
All right, we've seen big systems for farming and public safety, but what about something more personal? What about creative work? Can AI really make a difference for, say, an independent filmmaker working on their own?
So, for a solo creator, this is the painful reality. You're looking at a screen filled with thousands of raw video files. One documentary filmmaker talked about spending 3 months just manually going through and logging 4 terabytes of footage. 3 months. Now, with AI, it can transcribe all the interviews in minutes. It can generate B-roll footage for shots that would be impossible or way too expensive to film. It can even compose an original, totally copyright-free soundtrack for you, on demand. The game has completely changed. All right, next section, your new toolkit. Because this isn't just for tech giants anymore. So, you might be wondering, how are these small teams and even single individuals pulling off these amazing things? Well, it's not with a blank check from a huge corporation. It's with a whole new generation of AI tools that are powerful, affordable, and accessible to pretty much anyone. I mean, look at this. We're talking about a whole new creative suite powered by AI. You've got tools like Kling that can generate incredible video from just a photo or a line of text. You've got Suno, which can create an original music score in any style you can dream up, totally free and clear. Then there's tools like Canva, using AI to whip up professional posters, logos, and ads in seconds. This puts a massive amount of power right into the hands of individual creators. So let's bring it all back home. Section 4, swimming in the bubble. What does this all mean for us? We've seen the mind-boggling trillion-dollar hype, but we've also seen very real, very tangible value being created on the ground. So how do we square that circle? What do we do with this whole bubble concept?
Well, the term that keeps coming up, especially on Wall Street, is productive bubble. And what that means is it's a bubble that, even if it eventually pops, leaves behind something incredibly valuable for everyone. Think back to the dot-com bubble in the late 90s. Yeah, tons of companies went bankrupt and investors lost a lot of money. But what did we get out of it? The massive network of fiber optic cables that basically powers the internet we use today. The idea is that the same thing is happening now. Even if the bubble bursts, all this incredible AI infrastructure will be left behind for the next generation to build on.
It really makes you think of this classic quote from the legendary investor Peter Lynch. He said, "Investors have lost far more money trying to anticipate corrections than they have in the corrections themselves." Basically, he's warning against trying to be the smartest person in the room who jumps off the train right before a supposed crash, because more often than not, you just end up missing the biggest part of the ride.
And maybe the biggest clue that we're moving past the hype phase is this. The constant, breathless chatter about AI is finally starting to die down a little. And you know what? That's a really good thing. It's a sign that AI is transitioning from being a shiny new toy to just being infrastructure. It's becoming like electricity or the internet. You don't talk about electricity all day, you just use it. And when people stop talking about AI all the time, that's when you know it's truly integrated into everything. So this all leaves us with one final big question. Will you be the person who stays on the shore, analyzing the water temperature, debating the currents, or are you going to be the one who just jumps in and starts swimming? Because at the end of the day, the real opportunity here isn't trying to time the bubble from the sidelines. It's about grabbing these incredible new tools which are right there for the taking and starting to build something. So the real question isn't, is it a bubble? The real question is, what problem are you going to solve?